Now that the Miami Heat know that they're going to be without backup point guard Dru Smith for the remainder of the season, the team will now have to figure out what they want to do with his last roster spot. Miami has 14 players signed and already had a spare roster spot before Smith got hurt, so actually they have 2 spots they can now fill. Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat basketball channel. My name is Amir. Before I get into today's video, I just want to thank everybody for their continued support. I'm on my path to 400 subscribers and we're getting pretty close. So if you could hit the subscribe button, it would mean a lot to me. So thank you so much again. So the Miami Heat are injury prone, it seems like. They've been hit by the injury bug recently. The worst injury thus far has been to Dru Smith. Even though Dru Smith is out for the season, the Heat are fortunate that it was Dru Smith that got hurt and not one of their more valuable players like a Tyler Hero or a Caleb Martin or a Hayward Highsmith. So the Miami Heat now officially only have 1 point guard on their roster. That's 37-year-old Kyle Lowry. So we need to replace Smith, and we need to do that on a prorated or a veteran minimum contract. And so Miami Heat insider Ira Winderman floated a few possible names. I think I floated some of these names in the summer as well. In the past, when we only had 12 or 13 players signed while we were waiting for the Damian Lillard trade sweepstakes, names like Goran Dragic, Austin Rivers were floated as a possible backup point guard on a vet minimum deal to join the Miami Heat. And one player that has been brought up and I think could be intriguing would be John Wall, the former Washington Wizards All-Star, who signed a 4-year, $171 million contract extension back in 2017 with the Wizards, and he unfortunately suffered a torn Achilles tendon just before the contract kicked in. So, unfortunate for the Wizards. Wall was then traded to the Houston Rockets, but the rebuilding Rockets eventually asked him to remain home, even though he was averaging 20 points and 7 assists per game, which is pretty incredible. He made another comeback attempt with the Clippers last year, but was traded to Houston again and ultimately waived. So, John Wall, does he fit with the Miami Heat? Possibly. I don't think he's the best option, but there's not a lot of options out there. So, John Wall is going to be 33 years old, and if you were to join the Miami Heat, he would not be in his prime, especially when he was a 5-time All-Star and when he was relatively healthy in his early 20s. Wall would be a good change of pace guard to bring off the bench. He still is obviously more athletic than a Kyle Lowry, possibly even more than Dru Smith, even at this age and after all these injuries. So the plus is that John Wall's a good playmaker, still a good passer, still somewhat athletic. The minus is that Wall never really improved on his 3-point shot, which now we're in a pace and space kind of era in the NBA. He just never was able to become a solid 3-point shooter. He did develop his mid-range, but his career percentage from behind the arc is 32.4%. Last time when he played with the Clippers last year, he shot 30.3%. So he's still an effective attacker off the basket to the rim, which will definitely add a dimension to the Miami Heat's team that they need, but he's not going to be able to space the floor like a Kyle Lowry. And defensively, I don't know if he's going to be a great point of attack defender, because he is, again, even though he is still semi-athletic, he's 33 and he's been super injury prone. He has really good hands, wasn't a bad defender in the past, really good when it comes to steals, but so was James Harden, so it doesn't say so much as a one-to-one on-ball kind of defender, and he's going to need to rotate a lot, I guess, but not entirely sure if I think he would be a good fit. But if there's nothing else out there, honestly, and we can't get any point guard through a trade, like a real point guard, like someone like a Tyus Jones or something who's 27, 28 years old, who could actually come in as a starter, and then we could put Kyle Lowry off the bench. if we can't get someone like that through a trade, then I don't think it's a horrible option. I just don't think it's the best option. I think I would rather have someone like an Austin Rivers, possibly. He's not the best either. He's 31 years old, so he's a little bit younger. Hasn't had the same injuries that Wall has had, but obviously has not even had a career that's even close to what John Wall had. But he is a better three-point shooter. He shot 35% from the field. Last season, his best season was around 37-38%. So he's a more capable three-point shooter, which is something the Heat, I think, desperately need. Again, John Wall has been super injury prone since his 2017 season, when he was 27 years old, played only 41 games. Then the following season, 32. Then he had his Achilles injury, and then he played 40 with the Rockets, and then he sat out most of the year, and then last season he only played 34. So it's been a long time since he's played more than 41 games in a season. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think he does deserve at least one look, not necessarily by the Miami Heat, but who knows? He could be a good fit for the Heat. At this point, I think he would be a better option than Dru Smith was. He didn't seem like an NBA player to me. I mean, even though he wasn't horrendous or anything, he just didn't really impact the game as much as a player like John Wall could potentially do. Not every game, but on some nights could have an impact still. If it's not his scoring, it would be his playmaking opportunity and ability to set up players like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. So, not sure, honestly. I can go either way with this, but we need to sign someone. We do need to have another point guard on this roster. So he could be an option. He could be a fit. What do you guys think? Do you think we should sign John Wall, or do you think we should sign a player like a Goran Dragic, who's also much older, 37, but was with the Miami Heat 2 years ago, knows the system, fans would love him back, or a player like I mentioned, Austin Rivers, who's a little bit younger, better shooter, or maybe like a what's his name? George? I can't think of his first name. The guy from the Spurs and the Pacers. He's kind of old too. So there's players like that are obviously still available. So not a lot of options in the bargain bin, but John Wall could be one that might fit. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thanks again. Talk to you guys soon.